Hello. Have you ever felt like you were stuck facing an important decision, not knowing which direction to take? As if any decision could completely change the course of your life? There's a mistake that thousands of people make when they're trying to find the right path. A silent mistake, but one capable of causing someone to miss opportunities that may never come back. And before this message ends, you'll understand exactly what that mistake is. But before we begin, I want to extend a special invitation to you. If this message touches your heart, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Every day we post messages of faith, hope, and spiritual guidance for people who are seeking answers. Perhaps this message has reached you for a greater reason than you realize. Now imagine a woman waking up on an ordinary morning. Nothing seems different. The same routine. The same problems. The same worries filling her thoughts. But there's one question she can't get out of her mind. Which path should I follow? She looks for answers everywhere. She talks to those close to her. She weighs her options. She makes plans. But the more she thinks about it, the more confused she becomes. What she doesn't know is that this same story happens every day to millions of people. People who believe they're lost, without realizing that they're living through the very moment that precedes a major change. Since ancient times, spiritual traditions have taught that periods of doubt hold special significance, because it is often precisely when a person reaches the limits of their own understanding that something greater begins to take effect. But there is a troubling question. What if the problem isn't the lack of answers? What if the real problem is failing to recognize the signs when they appear? Because it is precisely at this point that most people begin to make mistakes that can change the course of their own story. Most people imagine that an answer from heaven would come in an extraordinary way. Something impossible to ignore, a clear sign, or immediate confirmation. But the oldest spiritual accounts tell a different story. They speak of guidance received through simple events. An unexpected conversation. An opportunity that arose at just the right moment. A door that closed when it seemed like the best option. And this is precisely where many people get confused. Because not every closed door represents a loss. Some doors close to keep you from going down the wrong path. Perhaps today there is something in your life that didn't go the way you planned. Something that brought frustration. Something that made you question whether you were really heading in the right direction. But let me ask you a question. What if what seems like a disappointment today is actually protecting you from a problem you can't yet see? This possibility appears repeatedly in stories of faith throughout the centuries. People who suffered setbacks. People who missed opportunities. People who faced unexpected changes. And only much later did they realize that what seemed like an obstacle ultimately led to something better. But there's another problem that's even more dangerous. Fear. Fear rarely presents itself as fear. Most of the time, it masquerades as prudence. It convinces you that waiting a little longer is the best decision. Then it convinces you to wait a few more days. Then a few more weeks. And without realizing it, you start trading movement for stagnation. That's why so many people remain stuck in the same place for years. not because they lack the ability to move forward, but because they believed they needed to have all the answers before taking the first step. And here's an important truth. Clarity rarely comes before the journey. Most of the time, it emerges during the journey. The next steps become visible as you move forward. Opportunities appear as you move. The answers emerge as you keep going. But there's a question you need to ask yourself right now. What decision are you putting off because of fear? What step do you know you need to take, but keep putting off? Because there's something few people realize. The greatest risk isn't always choosing the wrong path. Sometimes, the greatest risk is standing still for too long. And this is exactly where we arrive at the most important point of this message. Because there's a silent sign that usually appears when it's time to move forward. A sign that many people ignore. But when they finally understand its meaning, everything starts to make sense. This sign doesn't usually come in the form of something extraordinary. Most of the time, it manifests as a constant unease deep within your heart. A feeling that's hard to explain. As if you know you can't stay exactly where you are. As if something inside you is telling you that it's time to take a step forward. Many people try to ignore this feeling. They try to convince themselves that it's better to wait. That it's better to put it off. That it's better to stay with what they already know. But the more they resist, the stronger that restlessness becomes. Because there are times when standing still ceases to be a form of protection and becomes an obstacle to what God wants to accomplish. Perhaps this is exactly what is happening to you. Perhaps there is a decision you know you need to make. A change you know you need to initiate. An action that has been put off for a long time. And while you wait for absolute certainty, fear continues to occupy the space that should be filled by faith. But pay attention. Feeling fear does not mean you are on the wrong path. Everyone feels fear in the face of the unknown. The difference lies in what is guiding your choices. Faith or fear. Because when fear takes control, you remain stuck. But when faith takes control, you find the courage to take the next step, even without seeing the whole path ahead. And maybe this is the real message you needed to hear today. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to know every detail of the future. You don't have to wait for the perfect moment. You just need to trust God and follow the path that has already been laid out before you. Often, the answer you're looking for isn't about discovering something new. It's about finally acting on what you already know. And when that happens, something extraordinary begins to change. Not necessarily around you, but inside you. Insecurity begins to lose its hold. Confidence begins to grow. And what seemed impossible starts to look like just the next step. Perhaps you came to this message carrying doubts. Perhaps you came looking for an answer. And perhaps the answer is simpler than you imagined. Don't let fear continue to dictate the course of your life. Trust in God. Take the next step. And let the path reveal itself as you walk. Perhaps this message reached you at exactly the moment you needed to hear it. Perhaps God used these words to remind you of something your heart already knew, but that fear was trying to hide. If there's a decision you need to make, a change you need to start, or a step you need to take, don't let doubt continue to paralyze your journey. Remember everything you heard today. Not every closed door is a loss. Not every delay is a punishment. And not every uncertainty means you're alone. Often, it's precisely during times of doubt that God is preparing you for what lies ahead. So keep moving forward in faith, even if you can't yet see the whole path. Trust that God continues to guide your steps. And when you look back, you may realize that He has been leading you all along. Thank you so much for staying with me until the end of this message. If this message has touched your heart, I'd like to ask you for something very special. Confirm that you've received this message by writing the following phrase in the comments. I choose to move forward with wisdom. Your message can encourage others who are also facing moments of doubt, fear, and indecision. And if you'd like to continue receiving messages of faith, hope, guidance, and spiritual strength, join our community. Subscribe to the channel now and turn on notifications. That way, whenever a new message is posted, you'll be one of the first to receive it. May God bless your life, your family, your path, and every decision you make from this day forward. And remember, the next step may seem small right now, but it may be exactly the step God will use to transform your future.